Good afternoon and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Providence Holy Cross Medical Center. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, owner,
Carl Goldman,
on your
sitting
hometown
here trying to dry out.
on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And are we having a phone call?
Yeah, Brett Flanders is going to be calling in from Ulrich Lifestyles in a couple minutes. But in the meantime, first of all, the rain, nice to have.
Isn't it lovely?
But it's going to be here for the next 2 weeks, they say, so on and off.
Oh.
So you better take your rain gear out of the closet, Barbara.
I don't even know if I have any rain gear.
For those who haven't seen in the news, Pacifica Daycare, the overnight senior care is closed, or is announcing they're going to close, the one that's on Lyons Avenue. And we know a lot of seniors who live there right now. In fact, I spoke there not that long ago. So it's surprising. We don't know why they're closing. We know that residents earlier this week got a letter that they have literally 2 weeks to pack their bags, their rain gear as well, and get out. And
where are they going?
We don't know. You have room at your house?
Oh.
It's really a shock because they've been, even though they changed hands, that facility has been around for many, many years. It's the one on Lyons Avenue over right by the 5 freeway. Over there, and I know they have many, many seniors. They also have a Alzheimer's area in their facility. So there are going to be a lot of seniors and a lot of seniors' kids who are scrambling right now trying to find a place because not much warning on that.
Oh wow.
While we're waiting for the phone call, and you're going to need headsets once the phone call comes in. You can't?
No.
Okay, well, we'll do sign language
He
back.
always gave me a little, whatever you call it, that you put on your mouth.
Oh, the headset on the mouth headset?
Well, no, it's what do you call it?
I don't know. We can do 20 questions and find out here.
Well, can we turn him on? Can he?
We'll figure out. We'll wait for his call to come through. In the meantime, let's talk about the Home and Garden Show because that's sneaking up and coming just around the corner. For those who don't know, the KHTS Home and Garden Show takes place every year. This will be the 14th year over at Central Park. I know, it's hard to believe it's been 14 years, but it's the biggest show in Santa Clarita, biggest weekend event in Santa Clarita, and it's pretty amazing. So go to scvhomeshow.com for more information on that. Terrific. But it's free of charge at Central Park, Saturday 10 to 4, Sunday 10 to 4 as well. And with us, Brett, are you on the line? Are you with us, Brett? Brett Flanders. Okay, now we can hear you. Can we hear you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Now we can hear you. We got it. Hey, Brad, how are you doing here in the rain?
I'm good.
This is Carl Goldman. You've got your old home and garden buddy here.
Oh, hey, Carl, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's been a while. And Barbara Cochran is here with us as well in the studio. Tell us what's been happening. Last time I saw you was literally 2 years ago when you guys were participating in our KHTS Home and Garden Show. But what's been happening the last 2 years with Ulrich?
Oh, Carl, so much. So much has been happening. Well, we've changed our product line at the beginning of this year. We phased it out a little bit of last year, and we're putting a higher focus on the bigger buildings that are more affordable that people could use towards a housing solution. So whether it's ADU permit in their backyard or they have another piece of land, we can get the building in there. And most times we can do it so much cheaper than a traditional builder or a mobile home option.
Yeah, because it's all prefab as well. And just to let everyone know, what have the rules for California changed in regards to ADU in the last few years, Brett?
So it's changed several times. There was a moratorium at one point. The problem was we didn't get all the counties to play ball with the state's rulings.
So what else
So
is new?
Some counties were supporting the decision, and some counties were just putting roadblocks in the way. So now I think, as far as LA County and your listeners are concerned, I think for this call, there's been some changes, and I'm not completely versed in all of them as of yet, since it's still kind of fluid. But I know that it is a lot easier to get the permit for the ADU now, especially since the fires.
Yeah, I would imagine that since the fires, there's such a shortage of housing at the moment that ADUs are becoming very, very popular.
So
Yes, sir.
how big are these little houses?
So it just depends on if you're using this as, so some people want just an extra bedroom that would be detached from their house. You know, you could do that from, I've seen them as small as a 10 by 12, which is legal without a permit. It's 120 square feet, so you wouldn't need the permit for that size.
Oh.
And I see them all. We can truck deliver up to a 14 by 53 structure, and we can on-site build pretty much any size structure you want. We do have a garage division. We have the shed and structure division. We've even got a new, and that's another one too I wanted to bring out because I know we have a lot of equestrians in this area. We just launched our horse barn program as well.
Oh my, that's interesting.
So,
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the horse barn. What's involved with that?
So the horse barns, so we're marketing that horse barn. It's a no weld kit. It's the strongest bolt together pattern that's in the industry. So all the kits are built and assembled in Fort Worth and then shipped to your location anywhere nationwide. And they can do anything from round pins up to 25 stall horse barns.
Good glory, that's enormous.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. So how long have you been involved with doing that?
So our horse farms, we just launched that as a standalone division around June of last year. And it's just really taken off. We started out in just one state and then went to 3, and then now we're shipping nationwide.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Brett, one of the areas that Ulrich has been great at, and you displayed it at a couple of years ago at the KHTS Home and Garden Show, are the kids' playhouses, and something you don't even think about. Talk about that a bit.
So we've got 3 different models for child playhouses, and these aren't the playhouses like you and I had, Carl, when we were growing up. These were nothing that was going to hurt us. It wasn't just something laid together and put together. If you could just picture, a state home or someone's house, ranch house, and just shrink it down to a child size, we're talking 4-foot sidewalls, dormer windows, full porches, electrical on the inside. And these, as nice as they are, you can get into one of these things for just over $3,000. So I don't know if you played like I did when you were younger, Carl. This was my life. That was it was something different every day. It was a fort. It was a country cowboy and Indians outpost. It could be something different every day. But I know the childhood that I had with the put together forts and playhouses. I couldn't imagine what my childhood would have been like with one of these sitting in the backyard.
Well, had you grown up in England as a little girl, you would have had a completely different playhouse, because in our backyard in Kent during the war, we had to have an oval shelter, metal topping, and they had to dig a hole into the dirt down below so that you could get down under the dirt, under the shelter. And after the war was over, before my father brought us to the States, that's where I used to play, down inside in the dirt, underneath that bomb shelter. Because finally they did away with the outside ones, and we had to have iron shelters inside the size of a king-size bed, and we had one of those in our living room, and it was probably 2.5, 3 feet high, and we had to crawl in there when the bombs were dropping.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Goodness.
So I had a very different childhood, a younger childhood, that is, because I came to the States when I was 10 and a half years old.
Speaking of childhood, the $3,000, that's a cheap price to get the kids out of the house. Think of the peace and quiet that $3,000 is worth. Boy,
But then you'd have to keep running outside, checking on them, making sure they're behaving.
well, I'm sure Brett could put a camera in very easily, right?
Very, very easily. Very easily. Anything to be done. So at Ulrich, we pride ourselves on, because truly we have the most advanced configurator in the shed industry. So we can configure this and personalize your structure with a lot more detail than any of our competitors. We put your windows where you want, the doors where you want. We have such a large selection of different items to add to. We have something for everyone. And I don't know, Carl, if I might be the first one to bring it up to you, but if you haven't been to the grocery store lately, the price of eggs have risen a little bit this year.
A little bit?
So say that again.
A little bit?
Yes, ma'am. So lately we've had customers with some wonderful ideas, and we've got they're taking our buildings and we're designing chicken coops. For all different sizes, whether it be for a couple chickens or for 40 chickens, and they still look good. They're really nice. They really add to your home. They don't stand out where it looks like you have it doesn't look like a farm. It just, it's a nice little structure. You have your chickens there, a little gate for them to run in and lay their eggs, and other animals too. So if you can think about it, anything you could use a structure for, we can bring that to life for you. If you can imagine it, we'll bring it to life.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about chicken farms and chicken houses because where we lived in England, after my father moved us out of London because of all the bombs, we had chicken. You had to have coupons to buy eggs over there. You had to have a coupon for everything. And because we were restricted in the number of eggs we could have per week for a family. And my father built a chicken house in the backyard. And we had 1 cockerel and 4 hens. And it was my job to clean the chicken house every day. And I hated it.
And you'd have to wake up to the rooster crowing, right?
That's right. Well, my brother was 4 years younger than I was, so he was just a baby, actually. But, from the time I was probably 6 years old, or no, 5 years old, it was my job to clean the chicken house.
We're chatting with Brett Flanders from Ulrich Lifestyles, Carl Goldman, Barbara Cochran here on the Senior Hour, KHTS. FM 98.1, AM 1220, and hometownstation.com. Brett, before you called in, we were talking about one of the major senior housing out here just closed this week, and they gave the residents 2 weeks warning to get out. We have so many listeners who are part of the sandwich generation with young kids and a parent elderly parent they're taking care of. With the change in the ADU, what can you recommend for ADUs for possibly putting a senior in the backyard of your house, mom or dad?
Yeah, so it just depend. It would depend on, so Carl, each instance is different. So at all these houses, you're going to have different sized backyards. Their size requirements are going to be different, and things of that nature. Their personal needs are going to be different. Whether it's do you need any of the ADA things on the inside that would take up room? How small can you get away with versus how big do you need to go? So we would find that out. Just figure out what size do you need and what size do you have. And then we have different options. And then my advice would just be to call. Just call us, show up at the store, let us sit down and show you what we have. And we can work all these specifics out individually, case by case. I mean, we could, if you're size limited, some of the things that we do are if you can't get a permit or don't want to get a permit and you can get away with just a solid room, we can do 120 square feet and then go high walls with that so we can kind of double the square foot going up versus out, right? And so they could have the storage and things on top that you might need to store away, and then you have the bottom portion, or we can just, design the right building for you for the size that you have. Generally, what a lot of our customers, what I've been seeing recently is about a 12 by 20. So 12 by 20, and I see several different floor plans come through. They'll get them from Pinterest and look, and you can just type in give me some Pinterest floor plans for this size, whatever size that you need. And then you start envisioning that. And then once you have your envision, or you just at least know your need or your dreams and your want, you can bring it to us and we can bring that to life for you.
Sounds like a great plan. Now, where is your showroom?
So we are on Sand Canyon, right behind Denny's, In and Out. You're familiar with the area on Sand Canyon and the 14 freeway.
Yeah.
You can see us from the freeway, but sometimes it's a little mission to get back here to us. So the best thing that I tell my customers is just go to the Denny's, and we're in the same parking lot as Denny's. We're just the back side of it. So once you come around Denny's, you'll see all the beautiful buildings standing there. You can't miss us.
And your phone number is what?
661-547-6717.
And the best website to go to?
Is www.ulrich, spelling U-L-R-I-C-H, lifestyle.com. www.ulrichlifestyle.com.
Sounds really.
And if you just Google sheds anywhere in the Santa Clarita area, we're the first ones that come up.
And you are certainly it's an experience to go see the showroom and get a better feel for what the possibilities are, and then of course from there you can customize everything. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I hear that a lot, Carl. When somebody come in and they start seeing some of the different display models we have out there, then they start envisioning the use and how that could help them live a bit more memorable life. So it'll open up your eyes, because sometimes can't be a real creative person, but we've taken all these different ideas that we've learned over the years and added them to different buildings just to give you a good visual of what it could be if you needed it.
One of our announcers here is Jen has a couple of younger kids, and you should have seen her eyes light up when I talked about the $3,000 to have the playhouse in the backyard, right?
I wish we would have done that years ago. Yeah. Or just maybe.
Well, there's no time like the present, Jen. No time like the present.
No time like the present.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right.
Well, Brett, thank you so much for joining us, and you stay dry out there today, and we'll come chat with you again soon.
Thank you so much, Carl. Good talking to you again, and thanks for having me on.
Terrific.
Take care of yourself.
You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS FM 98.1, AM 1220, your hometownstation.com. Carl Goldman along with Barbara Cochran. We'll be talking with Adam Laraway from Focus Therapy right after this short break.
Back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Carl Goldman.
On your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And our guest now is the one and only Adam Laraway from Focus Physical Therapy.
Hi there, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Doing well.
Okay, what's on the docket today?
Well, we were going to talk about the Neubie, I think, a little bit. Carl and I were talking earlier about kind of his journey with the Neubie.
Yeah, I've been working, and I know you did too, Barbara, over at Focus. But my journey started at Focus back in the days that most people know I had challenges with the shingles vaccine that almost killed me. So by the time I walked into Adams, I didn't walk in, I came in on a wheelchair into Adams facilities. I was in pretty bad shape. Yeah. And it's been a long journey, but here I am to still tell the tale.
Absolutely.
But I attribute, during my health journey with this, I've tried everything, both traditional medicine, non-traditional medicine, off-the-wall medicine, and there have only been a few things that I could say truly improved me and continue to improve me. And one of those is definitely the Neubie machine.
For sure.
And why don't, for those just tuning in for the first time, why don't you describe what the Neubie is?
Yeah, so the Neubie is a piece of equipment that is electric stimulation, but it's different than if you've had electric stim with like a TENS unit, stuff like that. It's direct current stimulation versus alternating current. That's what makes it such a different tool for us to really help people out, because the direct current actually mimics what our nervous system does. And that really has been a game changer, because we can actually map with a sponge on your skin in the Neubie, and find where your brain is looking for that signal. And so we can identify where the problems are, whether it be muscles that are not working or they're overworking. And then we stick electrodes on there. And then once we've mapped and found all those, then we will go through movement patterns to help restore and do stuff like that. In Carl's case, we've been using it to try and kind of turn the nerves, and which is what tells the muscles what to do, how to do it again. And we actually were working together this morning, and I was really excited because we could actually see and feel some movement in his feet, which has much better than it has been. So I was pretty pleased. And then last month we had a huge jump in his grip strength, which for what Carl's been dealing with, mainly is right now dealing with both his feet and his hand weakness. So.
And to put it in perspective, a year ago, I could not even peel a banana. I couldn't button a shirt. I couldn't open a baggie. Now I can do all those things.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
And really, I attribute that to the workout with the Neubie. And the Neubie works in a way that I guess the analogy I like is that if you lift a weight 10 times normally, with the Neubie, it's like a
1,000 times. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're literally tapping into the nervous system. And a lot of times when you've had an injury or a stroke or something like that, it can take 100,000 reps for the body to get back to that normal, strength and mobility and that type of stuff. And with the Neubie, we can literally turbocharge it. I worked out myself with it on Sunday, and I did 3 minutes of bicep curls, and I'm still sore. Here we are 3 days later.
You better be careful, Adam.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
You're the owner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, good sore, like muscle sore from working out. So.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing for me, it's taken some time, but with between my wife Jerry and I, we've probably sent 10, 15, 20 people over to see you with different kinds of problems, mostly muscle problems.
Yeah.
And within 1 or 2 sessions, they could tell and see a giant improvement, and it worked wonders.
Absolutely,
it's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what we try and do is, we really want to see changes, in 4 to 6 visits. And it's been interesting, I've been a PT for 25 years now, and, I've only been treating with the Neubie for about 6. It was released for FDA clearance in 2017, so it hasn't been around that long. But it's interesting, now treating with the Neubie versus prior to that, I can do things much quicker than I could before. And so we really say that, within 4 to 6 sessions, you should notice a change, and we know, hey, we're going in the right direction, things are helping. Where, before it could take a long time. And I've had some patients post-surgical where, say like an ACL reconstruction, it would take them a year before they would get back to sport. And I had a motocross guy back on the bike in 4 months, which was crazy. But when he went back to his doctor, all of his strength tests and measures were all checking out. So they released him back to the bike, and he did amazing. And it's been 3 years since that surgery, and he's doing great. But it's really interesting because it literally kind of turbocharges the system. And we've seen a lot more issues, or helping people that have issues that maybe have kind of struck out, in the medical community, unfortunately. And we've been able to get them corrected, which has been really, really fun and rewarding to work with patients in that realm.
Also works real well with pain. I was fortunate that I didn't have any pain through any of this journey, but a lot of people we've sent over to you were struggling with pain. How does the Neubie help that?
Well, the Neubie helps with that in multiple facets, but one of the things that we like to do is what's called the master reset. So we stick pads up on your neck and 2 pads on your feet, and we stimulate what's called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is responsible for kind of the 2 sections of your nervous system called the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And most people have heard of kind of their fight or flight system, which is the sympathetic. You're getting chased by a dog, get me the heck out of here, and your body releases cortisol and adrenaline and all that stuff to supercharge your system and get you out of there. But once that threat's gone, then you should go into the parasympathetic, which is your kind of rest, recovery, digest. And, when you're in pain, a lot of times you stay in that sympathetic system. So even though you're sleeping and you're doing all these different things, if your system and you're in pain, your system may not be getting into the parasympathetic to get those systems working properly, which is why you can wake up tired all the time, and you may not be digesting your food as well. And so we can artificially stimulate that system. And for somebody who's been in pain, say for a long period of time, we can then kind of reset the system, so to speak, and get it to start over and get it into the process for recovery. It was interesting. I was talking with Sam, one of our physical therapists, at the clinic this morning, and he had a new patient yesterday, and just did the reset and a couple little stretches with him. And when he ended the session, the pain that he came in with was gone. So it can be that quick. It's not always that quick. I want to be upfront and honest, but he was really excited because here he did essentially 15 minutes of work and treatment, and the person that came in had all kinds of sciatic symptoms, and by the time they left, it was gone. So it was really, really, really fun to hear that.
In fact, many of the sports teams use the Neubie. Now, Barbara, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I don't remember.
It was only a few weeks ago.
I think I did watch part of it.
Okay, well,
I was with my
my
daughters,
team,
so.
which is the Philadelphia Eagles, has a star running back, Barkley, who was a superstar with the competing team, the New York Giants, one of their nemesis, and he had some injuries, so the Giants gave up on him. He, off-season, worked with the Neubie.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you tell the story.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So his name's Saquon Barkley, and he had torn his ACL. He was one of the best running backs in the NFL 3 years ago, and he tore his ACL and was coming back from recovery and not doing very well at all. He couldn't get his quads, his muscles in his thigh to turn back on. And so he ended up reaching out to the owner of NewFit, who I'm friends with. His name's Garrett Salpeter. And so Garrett actually flew out to his house in New York and started training and working with him. And Saquon calls it his cheat code because it immediately turned those muscles that weren't working and that the training staff couldn't get to fire back on. And, he this year had just an amazing year, but I think that the Giants were afraid he wasn't going to make it back from what the rehab team was telling them and that type of stuff. So they released him, and then he got signed and picked up by the Eagles, and then had an MVP season. I mean, almost broke Barry Sanders' record for rushing yards in a year, and just had some amazing plays and highlight reels. But he attributed a lot of it to the Neubie because it got his muscles to turn back on after his surgery that weren't working. So that's been kind of fun to see,
Well, it also helped me.
Absolutely,
with
yeah.
my neuropathy.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, tell about your journey then.
Well, I've gone through cancer twice, and I got neuropathy as a result of going through chemotherapy. At least that's what the doctor thinks. And I don't know whether that's, all truth, but that's what he seems to think, is that it was a result of going through the chemotherapy.
I would definitely agree. I mean, chemotherapy is attacking all the cells, not just the cancer cells, and so it affects your whole system.
Well, it kills the cancer cells, but it also attacks a lot of other cells too, and helps destroy those when they can. But no, I came to you, and I used the Neubie.
For sure. Yep.
And it did wonders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolute wonders.
Yep.
It really did. And it's an amazing machine, and I would strongly recommend going to you if you have problems.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And going to you is Focus Physical Therapy over on Lyons Avenue and over right above Valencia Pharmacy, so you know where that is, right in the center of Lyons, off Lyons Avenue, off Beachland.
Absolutely.
And your website is?
It's www.focusptscv.com. And it's been a lot of fun to work with the Neubie and see some of the changes. I'm actually really excited. There's actually what they call it, a practitioner group. So it's all of the Neubie providers. They have a phone call once a month where sometimes people present, which is what's happening tonight. Sometimes we just have brainstorming sessions with what people are seeing in the clinic, which really helps us get ideas of how to treat people with different issues and stuff like that. But what's interesting is the presenter tonight, they're presenting an article that they're publishing on peripheral neuropathy. And so,
Really?
yeah, so some of my friends actually that use the Neubie in Florida, and they did a 12 treatment experiment where they did peripheral neuropathy, and they do what's called the foot bath, the Neubie foot bath, where we stick your feet in a bucket of water, which is going to sound funny.
No,
Bucket
but
of
it works.
bucket of water, and then we put the Neubie electrodes in the water. And I know, most people think electricity and water don't go together, but it's totally safe.
This does, believe me, and it works.
And it does.
It works.
But so one of the things that they did in the study was they put the pads up at your lower back where all the nerves that come out of your lower back to go down your legs. And so we were literally running that direct current stimulation from your back where the nerves come out of your spinal cord all the way to the bottom of your feet in the bucket of water. And they are showing significant improvements. I'm really excited to hear kind of the results of the study, but just off the top, I know that they improved on what's called a nerve conduction velocity test. So when somebody has peripheral neuropathy, they'll go to the doctor and they do a nerve conduction velocity test where they stick 2 needles in your tissues and they send an electrical impulse from point A to point B. And we know how fast that should conduct. And when you have peripheral neuropathy, the speed is greatly decreased because it's not conducting well, and that's why you get those symptoms. So the study was able to show that it actually improved that, which was great. And then it also showed what's called axonal regeneration. So axon is part of the nerve. So it actually showed that, I'm not sure how they measured this, I'm curious to hear in the study, but they were actually able to show that they were regrowing those nerves. So that's a game changer for peripheral neuropathy, which typically has not been a good treatment success rate. People can take medications which kind of mutes the system, but it doesn't really fix the problem. So this could be potentially one of the things that actually fixes the problem and gets rid of it, which is really exciting.
That is exciting. Now, tell us a little bit about your business.
Uh-huh.
When you have physical therapists working for you, do
Yes.
they have to go through training
Yes,
of
yes,
kinds
a lot of training.
to especially to use the Neubie?
The
and that kind of
Neubie
thing?
training they do kind of in-house. So to become a physical therapist, you're looking at 7 years of college, graduate and undergraduate school. And so like now, so I graduated way back in the dark ages in 2000.
Dark ages.
So I, at that time, only had to have a master's level of education for physical therapy. So I have a master's in physical therapy. But now the credentialing has gotten significantly more difficult, and it's a doctorate of physical therapy. So all of the therapists coming out after, I think it's 2008, came out with a doctoral degree in physical therapy. So that's very competitive. 4 years of undergrad, you have to do all your prereqs, and then you have to apply. And I know, like for me, when I applied, there was 533 applicants, and they only took 36 students. So it's pretty competitive.
Whoa.
And your grades and everything, and all your test scores and stuff have to be doing pretty well. And then as far as the Neubie training, because I was one of about 25 practitioners in the nation when I started with it, I flew to Tampa and I trained with a physical therapist there that worked with the NewFit. And then I also flew to Austin, which is where the headquarters for NewFit is, and I trained there as well. And so I've done several now after COVID, they do a lot of stuff virtually. So like all of my staff, my therapists have done their training virtually. And they go through a series of modules to learn how to use it. And then we do a lot of on-site training. So that they become proficient on it. But it's a lot of fun to work with them. We just hired a new therapist, Nick Abrams, so I'm super excited to bring him on board. And he was actually doing some of the videos this morning, and so we're getting him up to speed so that he can come in and help even more people, because that's really what we're trying to do.
There are 4 of you.
There's 4 of us in the office, that are working with the
one
Neubie.
thing I wanted to comment about the Neubie, because a number of people, when I describe it, they ask, does it hurt? And it doesn't hurt, because what happens is they hook you up and you count out from a 1 to 10, with 7 being the level of comfort, where you feel it, and you definitely feel it.
Yeah.
And as long as you're kind to your therapist, they don't go above 7.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Maybe some of those we do flip it up a little
yeah,
bit.
well, you can tell, your comfort level,
Yeah.
and that's what you have to be at when you're using the Neubie.
Yeah, that's why when Adam is turning the dial, I am quick to make sure I keep my mouth shut.
I know, I've done the same thing.
No, and it is. I mean, I always am very upfront with patients when, especially their first time. And we talk to them about, they're in control. The more intensity we get through the system, the better. But they're in control, and so and that helps because you think about it. If you're in pain and you're in that sympathetic, you're in that fight or flight, and I'm pushing this dial up and up and up and up, and you start to panic a little bit because it's intense. That's not going to help us. So I always make sure that the patient knows
and
they are in
that's
control.
not going to help the patient either.
Right, exactly.
It's going to make them very, very uncomfortable.
For sure.
Adam Laraway is our guest, Focus Physical Therapy. We're going to be back to talk about the Neubie in a moment right here on your hometown station, KHTS FM 98.1, AM 1220, your hometown station.